Welcome to exercise 5.1 using web fonts. In this optional exercise, we are going to further your understanding of style sheets in relation to HTML documents by putting fonts that are stored in an online archive, in this particular case, Google Fonts. We're going to use these fonts in the web pages that we created previously. Web fonts are something that have been around for a very long time, and using them will give you a fairly good insight into some of the things you're able to do with your design on the web. There's a lot of history related to web fonts. If you want to learn more about it, do a Google search for history of web fonts, and you should be able to find some great articles. This one in particular, Brief History of Web Fonts, goes through not only the history of web fonts, but how fonts have been used in graphic design throughout history and how it relates back to the web. So it's a great read if you want to learn a little bit more about where things came from and perhaps where they're going. So to use this exercise, you will need to download and open the web fonts PDF file. That's what I have over here on the side. Remember, like the previous exercises, you should open it in Adobe Acrobat or Adobe Reader, because we will be cutting and pasting code from this document into text documents. And if you decide to do that from a web browser, you may get some strange characters and your code won't work properly. So open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader. You will also need to download the startingfiles.zip. In my browser on my Windows machine, I'm going to save that and I'm going to put it on drive D. If you're in the computer labs at the college, you will have a drive D. If you're working from your Mac or your PC at home, just find a location that you can go back and locate it to put the file on. I now have the zip file on my computer. I have File Explorer open. Remember, this is a zip file, so we're going to need to extract the contents. You can see the little zipper in the icon here. You can also see on my computer that it says .zip, although that may not appear on every computer. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose Extract All. In my instance, I'm going to not have this checkbox checked. I'll choose Extract. Notice now I have a starting files folder and the starting files zip. I'm going to go ahead and delete the zip file just so that I don't get confused as I'm working on the exercise later on. Opening the starting files folder, we will find the two web pages that we worked on and created in exercise 1 and then modified it in the second exercise. And we also have our index.html and our style sheet. So let's open index.html, and here is our web page. To get started in this exercise, we need to open our HTML file and we need to open our style sheet file. To do this, I've opened two instances of Notepad on my Windows computer. If you're using a Mac, you're going to be needing to use TextEdit or a similar text editing program. First of all, I'm going to open the HTML file. So I'm going to go and navigate to the folder that I extracted. And you'll notice when I go into the exercise 5.1 folder here, I cannot see any HTML files. Remember, that's because by default, Notepad only shows text documents. I'm going to change the file type here to all files, and I will be able to see the index.html file and then open it. So here is the index.html file. This is what the document looks like right now. Note that the file is linked to the style sheet. So let's open the style sheet. Once again, second instance, just because I want to go back and forth between them, I will change the file type to all files. Then I can see the style sheet. I will open the style sheet, and here is our style sheet, which is causing this web page to be formatted and look the way that it does. Let's take a closer look at the style sheet, which is being used to generate this web page over here. You'll notice that the web page is using a sans serif typeface. In this case, it's Arial because it's a Windows computer. So looking at the style.css style sheet, which is connected into and formatting this sheet, we can see that the body tag has been defined, and there is a font family identifier here. Notice that the font family identifies Arial, Helvetica, or sans serif as the font that the browser should use to render the text on the page, or at least in the body element. Arial is the default sans serif font on all Windows computers. Helvetica is the default sans serif font on all Macintosh computers. And if you're using some other type of device or computer that does not have one of those two typefaces, the browser will use the default sans serif typeface. This is the area that we're going to be modifying in this exercise. We will be using typefaces from Google's font library instead of the default typefaces. In order to do this, there's a few things we need to take care of. The first being, we need to tell the web browser to download the typeface that we want to use to the computer. You're now looking at the HTML for the web page. Up here is the link to the style sheet. So this is the style sheet that I just showed you. What we're going to do is we're going to put another link in here, and this link is going to link the web browser to the font that we want to use. So in the instructions, in step number 2, there is some code that you need to copy. Once you've copied this code, you can make some space in the head of the document and you can paste that link in. Let's take a look at what the link does. Notice that it links a document at Google APIs, fonts.google APIs. It is a font called Macondo. And this is basically telling the web browser to download this font to the local computer from this website. Once we save this, we can go back and reload our web page. Of course, nothing changes yet because we need to modify the style sheet to indicate that it should use this typeface. Let's do this now. On my screen, again, you can see the style sheet. I've got the font family line highlighted. What we're going to do, if we go back to the instructions here, is we're going to modify or change 2 of the lines in the style sheet. I'm going to copy the font family and the font size lines. I actually don't need to copy the font size because it's already 18 point, but I'll do it anyway. I'm going to paste these lines in. Look at the difference now. Font family, Macondo or cursive, should Macondo not be found. The font size is also specified. I'm going to save the file sheet. Remember that in the HTML file, we've already got a statement that links the Macondo font in. So the web browser has already downloaded this particular font. Now that it's linked into the style sheet, we can click on refresh and notice that the typeface is the Macondo typeface being used at this point. You can see that by choosing from the Google API library a font that you like, linking it and using it in your style sheet, we can use a font that better fits your marketing goals or your other purposes in the website. Moving on, let's take a look at how you can choose your own typefaces for use on your web page. I'm going to skip down through the steps here until I get to step number 12. Step number 10 simply has you add some visual effects to a heading. Go ahead and experiment with that if you like. There's a number of interesting effects. They don't work on all browsers, but they do work on some. For this portion of the exercise, you'll need to go to the Google Fonts website. So you can follow the link. When you get there, you'll find that there are a number of fonts presented to you. You can search for typefaces, and you can filter the results using the filter buttons that you have up here. I've filtered my results to only show display fonts, which are good for use in headings and titles and things like that. I'm going to select this one here called Lobster, and I've decided that this is the typeface I'd like to use. So to use it, I'm going to click on the typeface. I can get a lot of information about it from this page. First of all, I can see what it's going to look like in different sizes by using this slider here. So that helps me get a sense of whether it's going to be suitable. For example, if I was going to make it really small, this is not a great font. If I was going to make it really big, it would be an interesting looking typeface to use. You can see the different characters that are available in it. You can learn a little bit about the people that designed it and the license it's been licensed under. And you can also find pairings, kind of like when you go to a restaurant and choose things that go with other foods. Well, there's different typefaces that might go well as body text or heading text with this typeface. The most important part of this page is this area here where it says styles. And you'll notice that this typeface has a single style. It's called Regular 400. Some typefaces, usually the serif and sans serif typefaces, will have multiple styles. And when I say styles, think about bold, bold italic, regular, fine, condensed, things like that. Now, if I want to use this typeface, if I've looked at it and I've decided that it will be suitable for what I want to do, I simply need to select the style. Now, you'll note up here there's a little selection box. Right now it's empty, there's nothing in it. If I choose select this style, notice I get a little red dot up here, and it has selected this particular typeface. If I click on this link, it opens what I'd like to refer to more as a shopping cart. All of the typefaces that you select. So I've selected Lobster, but you can select other typefaces, other styles, and put them all into this cart. Once you've collected everything that you want to use for your website together, you can click on the Embed tab up here and the code that you need to put into your HTML document. So here's the link tag, and the style sheet information that you need to put in is presented to you so you can copy and paste it and use it. Let's go ahead and use this particular typeface. I'm just going to scroll down here. You can see that what I've just mentioned has all been documented in the instructions. And the information here from the embed, this is the information that we need to put into our web page. So to begin with, I'm going to go back to the Google Fonts website. I'm going to choose the code here, the link code. Now, in this particular instance, I'm only going to be using a single font. The code can preload multiple fonts, but keep in mind, the more fonts that you preload, the slower your web page will be to load. And keep in mind that that has an impact on the satisfaction that your visitors might have with your website. Next, I'm going to open up my HTML document. And here is the link tag that we were using for the Macondo font. I'm going to go ahead and paste in or replace it with the link tag that is going to use the Lobster font. And I will save my web page. Next, I'm going to go ahead and open my style sheet. And back on the Google Fonts website, I can grab the font family. Now, you'd want to put the font family into any of the elements that you want. So I'm going to put it in the body because it will apply to anything that doesn't have another definition. So my entire site is going to use Lobster. If I only wanted to use it in a heading, then I would define a heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3, and I would put the font family for the heading to be this font, and I would leave the regular font family definition of Arial or Helvetica that was there before. I'm now going to save my style sheet, and I'm going to go back to my website, and when I reload it this time, I get the Lobster font. It's as simple as doing this. If you want to have some fun, pick a bunch of different fonts, go back into your HTML document, copy and paste the link in, modify your style sheet with the various font definitions that you want to use, and explore. That concludes this exercise. Thanks.